In the central and southern waters of Vietnam, herring has long been an important target. Closely associated with the lives of many generations of fishermen, herring is a small fish, often living in large schools offshore, moving seasonally and often concentrated in the first months of the year when the seawater turns cold and the currents are rich in plankton food sources. The characteristics of herring are flat bodies, shiny silver scales, usually only 15 to 25 centimeters in size but accounting for a large output, becoming an important source of raw materials for many seafood processing industries. Herring fishing is not simply a livelihood. It is also a treasure trove of experience at sea, accumulated from generation to generation, in which the purse seine method plays a key role and is considered a symbol of the ingenuity, community spirit and perseverance of fishermen. Purse seine is essentially a variation of the purse seine, in which people use a net hundreds of meters long, sometimes even kilometers, with a height just enough to cover the water layer where the herring school is active. When detecting a school of fish, the owner of the ship will drop the net down and surround it, forming a closed circle. Then use a cable to pull the bottom of the net to receive the net. That is, close it tightly like a giant bag, not allowing the fish to escape. The entire school of fish is gathered in the net. Then the fisherman will use a net, bucket or a pumping system to suck the fish up to the boat. This technique requires smooth coordination between the crew, because if they are just a little slow or mishandle the wind direction or current, the school of fish will disperse, and all efforts will be lost. A herring fishing trip usually starts late at night, when the boat has fully prepared fishing gear, fuel, ice for preservation and food. The captain is an experienced person, relying on observations of currents, monsoons and signals from seabirds to judge where schools of herring are concentrated. During the day, the fish often dive deep, making them difficult to detect. But at dawn or dusk, they float near the surface of the water. The silver light reflecting under the waves makes it easy for experienced people to recognize. Once the school of fish is identified, the captain signals the entire crew to prepare, drop the net from the bow of the ship and circle around the school of fish. The sound of the engine mixed with the shouts. Everyone is highly focused. The moment of pulling the rope to receive the net is the most tense moment, because that is the moment that decides success or failure. Once the bottom of the net is closed, tons of herrings are like silver white across the water, swaying under the high voltage electric lights. The work of bringing fish onto the ship is also an art. In the past, fishermen only used hand nets or buckets, but today many modern ships are equipped with high-capacity pumping systems, helping to quickly transfer fish from the net to the hold, reducing loss and saving labor. The herrings are immediately put into the hold as soon as they are brought onto the boat, where crushed ice is mixed with salt in the appropriate ratio to maintain freshness. This is an important step because herrings are very perishable. And just a few hours of negligence will cause the quality to decrease significantly, not meeting industrial processing standards. When the ship docks, the herrings are unloaded at the fishing port, where refrigerated trucks are waiting to transport them to the factory. The fish market is bustling with calls, bargaining, the strong fishy smell of the ocean mixed with the urgent atmosphere of traders and stevedores. For many fishermen, this is a moment of both fatigue after a long sea voyage and joy because their efforts have turned into achievements. Income from herring catches not only supports families but also contributes to the local economy, creating jobs for thousands of workers in fishing ports, processing plants and the fishery logistics service industry. In the factory, The herring processing process begins with the raw material reception stage. Batches of fish are carefully checked for quality, classified by size and freshness. The best quality fish are fresh, with shiny scales, clear eyes, and no bruises, and are often used for high-end processing such as frozen fillets and canned fish for export. Second and third quality fish can be used for dried fish products, herring fish sauce or fish meal for livestock. The entire process takes place under strict hygiene conditions. Workers must wear protective gear, gloves, masks, non-slip shoes and comply with HACCP and ISO standards. First, the fish are put on a conveyor belt and washed with treated seawater. Removing impurities and loose scales. Then, workers will gut, remove organs, and cut off the head if necessary. In many modern factories, this stage is supported by automatic slaughtering machines, which help increase productivity and reduce labor costs. After slaughtering, the fish is divided into different production lines depending on the final product. If making canned fish, the fish will be cut into pieces, steamed, then put into cans, tomato sauce, oil or brine added, and finally seamed. Pasteurized at high temperatures to kill bacteria and extend shelf life. If making frozen fillets, the fish will be sliced on both sides, the backbone removed, then quickly frozen at -40 degrees Celsius to preserve the meat structure and flavor. However, behind that excitement, there are many concerns. The herring season usually only lasts a few months, after which output drops sharply, forcing fishermen to find other species such as mackerel and anchovies to make a living. Mass exploitation sometimes leads to the risk of resource depletion. Especially when boats use nets that are too small, catching even young fish. The state and coastal localities have repeatedly issued recommendations, requiring fishermen to comply with minimum mesh sizes, output quotas as well as prohibited fishing areas to protect long-term resources. But in reality, control is not easy because the livelihood of fishermen depends directly on each net catch. This is a difficult problem, requiring coordination between the government, businesses and fishermen to exploit effectively while maintaining sustainability. In addition, the herring purse seine industry is also affected by climate change. In recent years, the weather has become more unpredictable, storms appear more frequently, and currents change. Making it difficult for fishermen to predict the season. There are seasons when fish arrive late or move to other sea areas, causing output to decrease. The cost of fuel, fishing gear and ice is also increasing, making fishermen's profits not as high as before. However, with diligence and sticking to the sea, they still persevere in their profession, because for many people, the sea is not only a livelihood but also flesh and blood. An indispensable tradition. In this context, the connection between exploitation and processing becomes extremely important. If only exploiting and selling fresh fish, the value in the waters around Taiwan, shrimp trawling is one of the traditional seafood fishing occupations that has existed for a long time and has become an important part of the country's marine economic structure. Taiwan's special geographical location, located between the Pacific Ocean and the East China Sea, where the Kuroshio Current flows, has created conditions for the formation of rich fishing grounds. The seabed areas on the western continental shelf and the small bays around the island are often home to many species of shrimp and fish with high commercial value. From tiger prawns, iron prawns, white-leg shrimp to bottom fish such as anchovies, red snapper, and alum fish. It is this biodiversity that has nurtured a unique trawling occupation, with a system of techniques, experience, and culture that go along with it, creating the unique identity of Taiwanese fishermen. Trawling, also known as trawling, is essentially a form of fishing gear that operates by dragging a large net on the seabed or in the middle of the water, usually carried out by one or two ships in coordination. In shrimp trawling, the type of net used is a bottom trawl. The mouth of the net is as wide as a giant bag. The two net wings open thanks to a wooden or steel door called an otter board. When the boat moves, these doors keep the mouth of the net open. The mouth of the net is close to the bottom, dragging along the shrimp and fish living there. All the creatures within the net area will be caught in the net bag, concentrated at the end called a net stake or net bag. Each pull lasts for several hours. Then the net is pulled up to the deck. The products are dumped onto the deck, classified and preserved. A trip by a shrimp trawler in Taiwan usually lasts from several days to several weeks depending on the fishing grounds. The boats usually depart from famous fishing ports such as Keelung in the north, Kaohsiung in the south, or Penghu in the middle of the strait. Before setting sail, fishermen prepare very carefully, checking the engine, checking the net winch system, filling the storage compartment with ice, and stocking food, fuel and fresh water. The captain relies on fishing ground maps, ocean current data, years of experience, and a modern satellite positioning system to choose the appropriate towing point. Some modern ships also have fish detecting sonar, which can detect signs of schools of shrimp and fish moving on the bottom. Thereby deciding when to lower the net. When starting to lower the net, all sailors are highly focused. The giant net weighing several tons is lowered from the stern of the ship. The net mouth is opened wide by the door, and the steel cable is stretched to keep it in place. The ship continues to run at a steady speed, usually about 3 to 4 nautical miles per hour, enough for the net to sweep close to the bottom without being pulled up. The towing time is usually 3 to 5 hours, depending on the area and season. During this time, the sailors take turns watching the cable tension, checking the pressure and speed of the ship, because running too fast can tear the net, and running too slow will reduce efficiency. When the time was up, the captain signaled to pull the net. The winch started to rumble, pulling each thick steel cable, slowly lifting the giant net onto the deck. That was the most thrilling moment, because all the hard work only paid off when the net was opened. When the net mouth emerged from the water, the entire crew gathered around the deck. Waves of seawater rushed down, accompanied by the silver light of thousands of wriggling shrimp and fish. Fishermen used iron rods and hooks to secure net mouth, then opened the latch to let all the products fall to the floor. That scene always made a strong impression. Red and pink mantis shrimp, blue tiger prawns, mixed with colorful bottom fish, crabs and even unwanted seafood such as starfish and baby sharks. Immediately after that, the sorting work began. Everyone was urgent because they had to quickly put fresh shrimp and fish into the ice cellar to maintain quality on Taiwanese trawlers. Sorting is often done right on the deck. A group of high-value species such as prawns, tiger prawns, and snapper are selected separately and placed in plastic crates with ice. Species of little value or too small can be sold as raw materials for fish meal processing. Many modern ships are equipped with freezers at -40 degrees Celsius, which help freeze the product on the spot. And the product remains fresh for many weeks. This is an important advantage for the Taiwanese seafood industry to be able to export to demanding markets such as Japan, the US, and Europe. However, shrimp trawling also causes a lot of controversy, due to the level of impact on the marine environment. Bottom trawling often plows the seabed, destroying the habitats of many species, and dragging along species that have no commercial value. Fishermen call it bycatch, unwanted products. The bycatch ratio can sometimes account for more than half of a net's output, leading to waste of resources and the risk of ecological exhaustion. Many conservation organizations have raised their voices, forcing the Taiwanese government to issue many strict regulations, limiting no-towing areas, regulating seasons, banning exploitation in breeding areas, and requiring the installation of turtle exclusion devices, TED, on nets to reduce damage to endangered species. For fishermen, these regulations are both a challenge and an opportunity. A challenge because they have to change their habits, invest more money to improve fishing gear, and accept that output may decrease in the short term. But it is also an opportunity for sustainable development of the fishing industry, maintaining prestige in the international market. In fact, many Taiwanese fleets have taken the lead in applying new technology, using more environmentally friendly trawl nets. And positioning systems to accurately identify schools of shrimp and fish, avoiding waste. Thanks to that, Taiwanese shrimp and fish products are always highly appreciated for their quality, meeting environmental standards, and maintaining their export market share. The life of Taiwanese shrimp trawl fishermen is closely linked to long sea voyages. On board, the space is cramped. All activities revolve around the deck and cabin. They eat boxed meals, drink filtered water from seawater filters, and sleep in small cabins just enough to stretch their legs. The work is hard, divided into shifts every day. And there is no rest at night because many species of shrimp and fish are active at night. Waves, storms, and even work-related accidents are always lurking. However, fishermen still persevere at sea because the income from this profession is quite high compared to many other professions. And above all, it is a family tradition that has been attached for generations. Many boys in fishing villages have followed their fathers to the sea since childhood, learning how to distinguish shrimp and fish, how to tie ropes, and how to pull nets. And then when they grow up, they become captains, continuing the career of their fathers.